Is peace between Russia and Ukraine on the horizon? Secretary of State Marco Rubio and Special Envoy Steve Witkoff on the ground in Geneva alongside a delegation from Ukraine, hashing out President Trump's multi-point plan to end this war, pointing to massive progress.
It is probably the most productive day we have had on this issue, maybe in the entirety of our engagement, but certainly in a very long time. But work remains.
Has anything changed from the commander-in-chief's original 28-point plan today that some already claimed would mean a victory for Russia? NewsNation's Libbey Dean live at the White House tonight with the very latest. And Libby, what are we learning about where these negotiations stand tonight?
Well, Natasha, a long day of negotiations in Switzerland leading to progress. According to the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, who was in those closed-door meetings, he says President Trump is pleased with the progress so far, but work remains to meet that Thanksgiving Day deadline set by President Trump. Now, this is the Russians still need to weigh in, of course, and we know they, of course, were also not in the room for today's negotiations. Now, that said, Secretary of State Marco Rubio sounding incredibly optimistic, labeling today's negotiations as the most productive talk so far, but also not getting into the specifics of what that progress yielded actually is, or the specifics of what this deal actually is. Let's take a listen.
Now, obviously, like any final agreement, they'll have to be agreed upon by the presidents. And there are a couple issues that we need to continue to work on. But I think the report today is that I think today was worthwhile.
While these negotiations were ongoing overseas, we heard from President Trump on social media. He criticized Ukraine and accused them of not expressing gratitude. Then we saw Ukrainian President Zelenskyy quickly taking to social media to thank the United States and the president directly for their help in the negotiations. So some back and forth there between President Trump and President Zelenskyy on social media. This is, of course, that controversy over who authored this proposal does continue. That group of senators did claim that they were told by Secretary Rubio that the proposal was authored by Russia. Now the secretary disputing those claims, saying it was authored by the U.S. with both input from the Russians and the Ukrainians. Here's those senators.
Secretary Rubio and the leaked 28-point plan, which, according to Secretary Rubio, is not the administration's position. It is essentially the wish list of the Russians that is now being presented to the Europeans and to the Ukrainians.
So the plan prior to today's negotiations, what it looked like, it included these concessions from Ukraine, including granting Russia Ukrainian territory in the eastern Donbas region. Another portion was cutting Ukraine's army by half, and then also having Ukraine agree to not join NATO. So those were just a few of the points in this 28-point plan. We even heard from the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, saying there's the potential that this is a 26-point plan. So it seems like a lot going on in these closed-door negotiations in Geneva. Natasha, though, we do, of course, know the clock is ticking on that Thanksgiving Day deadline that the president set. But we heard from the Secretary of State who said they just want a deal as soon as possible to end the war. Natasha.
All right, appreciate that context. And Libby, I know Trump also continuing his attacks on the Democratic lawmakers who appeared in that video directed at members of the military. What do we know about that?
Yeah, this continuing even within the last hour, Natasha. President Trump reposting a barrage of social media posts today detailing how he thinks those half a dozen Democratic lawmakers should ultimately be held accountable for a video that where they urged U.S. service members to ignore illegal orders. Now, the president did previously claim that that video was, quote, seditious behavior punishable by death. And recently he did call for those lawmakers to be jailed. And as I mentioned, he continues to post about this late into the night here at the White House. We know he's here currently. Now, Senator Slotkin says the lawmakers were receiving calls from U.S. service members asking for advice. And that's ultimately what prompted them to put this video together. Let's take a listen to Slotkin.
Do you believe President Trump has issued any illegal orders?
To my knowledge, I am not aware of things that are illegal, but certainly there are some legal gymnastics that are going on with these Caribbean strikes and everything related to Venezuela.
And the president even highlighting those comments there from Slotkin. Now, the president also has suggested that the Department of War is who is investigating the Democrats who ultimately released this video. But there is no official investigation announced by the Justice or the War Department as of now, Natasha.
All right, Libbey Dean live at the White House with that tonight. Thank you.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.